Story. You play as Sseth, the half-demon son of Demetrius LeBron, two-time NBA champion and demon lord of a high hells.
How's it going, folks? Jack here with another video. So today we'll be checking out a review from SsethTzeentach on Dark Messiah, a game that I got to play 5 days ago, and it was a lot of fun remembering that. Didn't try the multiplayer though, so I can't tell. But given that Sseth has used a thumbnail of Jesus here, I assume that he's going to be talking about my favorite isekai adventure. So let's jump into this.
Hey people, Sseth here. Today, I'll be reviewing Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. Strangely, Dark Messiah is a game about breaking your dad out of jail. Stranger yet, Dark Messiah is very patchy with presenting its source material. If anything, Dark Messiah is a glorified visual novel based on King James Version Genesis 17 through 20. We've got all the set pieces, Lot's arrival to and the subsequent smiting of Sodom and Gomorrah, women turning into pillars of salt for disobeying God, and a woman of your own flesh and blood
the incest,
impregnating herself with your seed because there's no other men around. It's all there. And yet, I can't help but feel that the message of the church is somehow lost in this depiction of the Old Testament.
Okay, so as an old Bible teacher who was once a theist, how do I put this in anime terms to make it digestible? So the Bible is divided in two types of mangas. You have 27 shonens that feature your typical savior type character whose father everybody likes and is born in some conspicuous circumstances. He possesses some special powers, like for example the ability to talk to demons, which isn't really unique to him because other people can do that, but he's like specially attuned to that stuff. But he has to roam the world with his posse of hidden people. Get it? Because it's like a double entendre since the Christians were hiding and also were considered to be filthy heathen. But at the end of the day, he makes an oath, a promise of becoming the goddamn Hokage and yada yada yada. You get the point. On the other hand, you have 39 seinens. We're talking about the good stuff. Manga that advocates for slavery, war crimes, incest, a lot of stuff that I cannot say because Susan will be coming after my ass. And the story of Lot and his family is but the tip of the iceberg. It continues with similar themes all the way to the Book of Judges. And it's just filled with characters that feel like goddamn Johann Liebert. That may just be a reference that is a bit obscure for you to understand. It's from an anime called Monster, so check it out, it's pretty good. My point is, the Bible is an interesting read.
For a start, the Pharaoh of Egypt was not a necromancer. Yes, it's entirely possible that there were trained combat gimps employed by his forces against the tribes of Judea, but it is highly unlikely that all the prominent scholars would simply leave out his ability to summon bone dragons and animate the dead. That's blasphemy. The only spellcaster with that kind of power level is Moses in Exodus, parting the Red Sea to escape the Pharaoh, using cheat codes for infinite mana, and making rocks bleed fresh drinking water is all in a day's work for him.
Even better, Moses does the most base thing in the Bible. He does not tolerate cringe. That part where he mentions that he struck a rock to make it bleed water is because the people were just pestering him while he was guiding them for 40 years in the desert. Who gets lost for so long? And this is the thing that always bugged me in Bible studies because people would say that, well, God was trying to try them. Like, is God freaking Sandover? Like kids are cruel, Moses. And I'm very much in touch with my inner child.
That's based on credible evidence. The more I play Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, the more I'm convinced this isn't a Christian game at all, and I feel that I've been grievously misled by the cover title into thinking otherwise. If you want to teach your children the lessons of God through video games, I recommend you look for more educational titles elsewhere. Story. You play as Sseth, the half-demon son of Demetrius LeBron, two-time NBA champion and demon lord of a high hells. Like any true absent father, Demetrius only begins contacting you telepathically when he's in jail. Sseth, my boy, I know I missed out on your childhood and left you to be raised by demonic sorcerers, but I had a good reason. Listen, mind helping your old man out? Bring me the Skull of Shadows. house and free me from this whack-ass prison. We can go for McDonald's after. I'll buy you a $1 menu. My
Nice.
treat. So you cluelessly murder your way across the continent while deciding whether freeing your father and subverting the International Court of Justice is ethical or not. One may argue that a true objectivist egoist would do whatever they feel like doing, and any negative ramifications of freeing your demonic father on the terrestrial world are simply moral spooks. Morality itself is a spook. Conscience is a spook. Or you can take the utilitarian approach and decide that the lives of millions of unwashed peasants who probably dabble in incestuous unions and child abuse are worth more than your own personal happiness as a son being united with his single father who made some mistakes and lost custody of his only child due to the entrenched pro-feminist lobby of the Ashan courts.
Well, if you put it that way.
Decision-making in Dark Messiah involves making the difficult choice between a literal semen demon who will protect, swallow, and adore you forever, and acts only in your own best interests to overthrow your father and put you on the throne of hell, or a shrill-voiced, shrieking, roasty hag with a Germanic fridge-frame body and problematic haircut who wants you to do everything she says, despite never offering anything in return besides using telekinesis twice, who can be betrayed and left to be eaten by a gigantic tarantula. But this doesn't stop her. She's so bitter that her own vitriol keeps her alive so she can bitch at you after being revived as a lich. It's
What? She does? Oh my god, I didn't know that. By the way, I went back to see the other endings, and yeah. The Sukusi really does, she does stay there with you. I thought that she would like betray me.
great role-playing like this that keeps Arcane Studios a respected developer. Gameplay. Dark Messiah is probably the best first-person fighting game out there. It's also one of the few titles out there that can be completed using no weapons, besides your left foot. The game lets you develop your character in different directions by spending skill points you acquire towards different character paths, with Warrior being the most pragmatic and straightforward. Previously, I would have said stealth isn't very viable, but on my current playthrough, with the full stealth perks and the assassin suit equipped, I'm virtually invisible in the shadows unless someone walks right into me. Mana recovers too slowly to use spells regularly, and forces you to chug down mana potions instead. To correct this, I strongly suggest you use my console commands to make magic viable, because normally it's pretty shitty to wait several years to fire a single fire arrow. Magic also requires a huge amount of skill points to acquire, so I suggest you give yourself a couple of freebies to play around with environmental kills. Combat keeps you occupied for most of the game.
Was he spawning enemies throughout this video? I suppose, not enemies, but NPCs. I suppose it did, because there's no way that so many mages showed out of nowhere.
Besides climbing ropes for a few hours in a platforming section that you make from your rope bow that spawns infinite amounts of ropes attached to arrows enchanted to be harmless against anything that isn't a ceiling. The combat's really good, and you can approach situations through a variety of ways, meaning you can either kill enemies directly with your abilities, or use the terrain and environmental hazards to help them meet their demise. When I played this many years back, I also didn't appreciate the fact that there's a variety of little side paths for each area, letting you do optional tasks, reach additional equipment and secrets, or allowing you to skip past most of the level. There's a lot of nice subtle interactions as well, such as when enemies are very injured, they'll start to limp away from combat and attempt to escape the combat area. If you've got daggers equipped and their backs are turned to you, your daggers will switch positions, and tapping left click will instantly execute them by firing a dagger in their neck. Doing enough damage to enemies also unlocks an adrenaline move, which empowers whatever weapon or spell you're currently using for the next attack, which can, for example, permanently freeze an enemy solid with the ice spell, or permanently shrink down an enemy with the weaken spell, who will run for their lives and scream until Seraph's foot automatically crushes them when you walk too close. When this game came out, it got a lot of criticism that it was, quote, too easy because of a kick. I'd wager that none of these so-called games journalists played it on the highest difficulty setting. So, Let's compare the same level on
Shut
all
up,
three
Sseth.
difficulties. Easy, as expected, not too much to deal with. Medium, manageable, but not unbearable. And here's the same level on insane mode, Dante Must Die difficulty. Good luck surviving this shit, you goddamn casual. Criticisms. There are legitimate problems with this game. It's still unstable as shit, or at least the current Steam copy is. Get used to reloading saves because Source Engine died on the loading screen,
Yeah.
and never told you because you're in full screen mode and the error message only appears on a desktop.
Yep, exactly. So the first thing that you do when you launch this game is to play it in windowed mode. I literally have a save document, it's a sticky note on my desktop that has the resolution changes. I needed that to be able to even record something in like normal resolution.
If you would describe vanilla Skyrim as prone to crashing, then you can describe Dark Messiah as a 20-car crossroad pileup with no survivors. Except their children, who will now be orphans.
Okay,
Forced to
dude.
sell their bodies on the street.
Oh.
Dark Messiah, summarized briefly, is a very solid first-person fighting game with a terrible shitty story written in a bastardized universe Ubisoft spawned after acquiring the rights to the Might and Magic franchise, where all the lore revolves around Dragon this and Dragon that. All the gods are dragons. There's the Dragon of Light, the Dragon of Order, and the Dragon of Chaos. Hell, fuck, why not? Jesus is a dragon too. The plot of both this game and all the Heroes of Might and Magic games after 5 is like DeviantArt meets porn script writing school. But just this once, the end product is a diamond in the rough, which justifies it all. In many ways, Dark Messiah is like Super Mario, except instead of
Damn, he
crushing
hits,
wildlife with your titanic weight, you kick them into serrated spikes. As always, more content to come. A warm thanks to the many members of the Merchants Guild bankrolling these terrible, terrible videos. You're all wonderful. Have a good one.
Yeah, it's nice to go back to the old stuff once in a while. It's like a very good palate cleanser. I really like that. It's like, I don't know if he's ever going to touch on Age of Wonders again, but if he doesn't, I've got Age of Wonders 3 and Planetfall installed. Perhaps I, like Thanos, will do it myself. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. And also, if I came out to be a little bit sarcastic with the Christian stuff there, deal with it. Yeah, this used to be the type of things that I would ignore myself, and it's like, it's really dark. It's terrible things going on there, and yeah. Now, as a grown-up adult who knows better, I am making fun of it, so yeah. That said though, wish you all to have a wonderful day. See you guys in the next one. Bye.